Welcome to Casual Babble.
Hey, it's your boy, BC Babbles.
This conversation could get a little
Now,
weird.
I'm not trying to say that I'm a nerd, but we are definitely about to get our nerd on, so...
This is Casual Babble.
Officially jump in. How's your day so far?
Good, productive. You know, we're down a team member for a couple days while they vacation, and that tends to leave us a little more all over than I'd like to be. But it's been
You're used to a certain level of daily chaos.
yeah. There's when you run essentially a social experiment called coworking.
Yeah.
There's always a risk that something goes wrong for locations. Weather, weirdness, lots of different people, stuff happens all the time.
So let's talk a little bit about your history. So where did you come from that led you into the idea of let's launch a social experiment, as you call it?
Yeah, it's like adult babysitting. So I got back in 2015, owned a marketing agency called Ready at 7. When we started that, my partner and I at the time, Kayla, tried working out of my house, and that just didn't go well. We didn't last long in that environment and ended up in a co-working space. I've said this line a million times, but a year into that, the personal and professional benefits for me a year into working in a co-working space it was too extreme to ignore. And I had this opportunity, and that was presented to me to open my own, potentially a small hobby-ish experiment. The bar was low, and we took a chance on building our own space, because it was just so good to us, and that was the beginning of it all. Back 2016, blows my mind. It's been a long time, but and then it was 3,000 square feet. That's the one off 809 West Hill Street. We opened literally next to the co-working space we were working out of. At that time, they were called 809. We opened Hygge next door. About 3-4 months into that, we were seeing some pretty great success, and asked to buy them. And they agreed after some mild negotiations. We were able to acquire their space and all their members and everybody there, and became this big 10,000 square foot opportunity. That at that moment, that's probably the place where it became real, like a thing that I can do as a business rather than a thing on the side that makes some money, but doesn't. It's very lifestyle. It's barely a lifestyle business. So. Yeah.
So over the past 6 years, what kind of challenges were you prepared for as a business owner, and what definitely came out of left field for you?
Well, let's just, obviously a pandemic is certainly out of left field, and I don't want to belabor that because people love to say, what would you have done to prepare for the pandemic? And the answer is not own a business.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
You can't, to prepare to go to zero is to prepare for failure. And that's basically, for a business like ours where we ended up was just completely shuttering. And I'm grateful that we were years into it enough where we had loyalty and our members appreciated us. And a lot of us, against, really sound financial decisions, stuck with us and paid us and really gave us the ability to hold on and still be here now. Outside of that, I think, things that you're never prepared for is in this business, it's in really any business. We had the same issue when I ran the marketing agency. Is scaling a team is always a fascinating, challenging thing. Hiring and turnover is the single most expensive thing you'll do.
Okay.
Your payroll in most cases is your highest expense. Hiring a human at $40,000 costs you after taxes $50,000. If you had benefits on that, now you got a $60,000 employee that you spend a month to possibly looking for. You spend a month or two training them, and then you work incredibly hard, hopefully, to retain them. And if they do rotate out, that's like if somebody leaves
right
quickly, especially, let's say you just don't do a good job of onboarding them, or maybe you missed the mark in something, but they accepted that job. You know, I am grateful that I haven't had a ton of turnover, but in a lot of cases, I see it in the businesses around us. They're constantly hunting for good people. And it's time consuming and very expensive. And there's no way to prepare for it.
Yeah. And so as the owner of the business, are there particular walls you'd say you have up in going into trusting somebody new to add on to your team that you would say maybe most hiring managers don't have to consider?
Yeah. So I have only once in the 6 years I've been doing this did we put out a job listing, which resulted in 40 applications, 30 of them which were probably shouldn't even have submitted based on,
okay.
So then you're sorting through that, and it's just a bad process. I lied to get my first job on my resume.
What job was that?
I got a job at a marketing agency right out of school.
Oh,
yeah, I did. It was an SEO agency, and I literally put all these things on my resume to get in the door, and then Googled them all just to learn them right before I went in for that interview. So it was fresh, so we could talk about SEO and link building and all these things. So I don't have any doubt that people are doing whatever they need to do to prep their resume for the job listing.
Sure.
So yeah, so I hire my friends. I hire people. I hire my friends. I hire people in my world that I'm surrounded by. People that I get to know. Alyssa was a member. Ben, who is our latest marketing support person, while he came in through the application process, we didn't have to do this extensive. We just knew him. We're like, oh shit, Ben wants to work with us. Like, he instantly flew to the top of the pile because I didn't need to vet him. He's incredible.
Yeah.
Unfair advantage.
Right.
Just because we had no clue he was into this, and it turns out in a very short period of time he's really changed the way we're working. Brittany, Megan, people before that, they were all people in my life. And because I'm the nature of my business is surrounding myself with inspired and motivated people, and we actually have a new hire starting on the 24th that has been one of our longest running members is joining the team, and that's again like a really exciting thing to be able to be in that person's world. She's a close friend of mine, and then just know her personal situation where the opening for me to offer her something was there. It's cool.
Let me backtrack real quick. Yeah. So you mentioned right out of college, you lied your ass off on a resume to get your first job.
Not out of college. Out of college, yeah. I went to college 3 times, dropped out twice. I guess
after the last time.
I went to college, back to school when I was like 26.
So how long did it take you to start being honest on your resume? Just like a random question that's been lingering for me for the past couple minutes.
So that is the one and only time I've ever applied for a job and interviewed. That was the first and last time I did.
So pretty much right after was when you went into
co-working. I worked retail before that for 10 years. GameStop, Blockbuster, movie gallery, entertainment biz retail, store manager stuff. But post-school, my first job was my last job where I worked for somebody else.
And then you became Big Boss.
And then that marketing agency is what inspired me to open my own. So that was it.
So let's jump through pandemic, because I know I've taken the chance to listen to a couple of different interviews with you where they've all asked about that. But recently, I know on your guys' podcast here, 0 to 10, you talked about something I liked hearing as a member, which was that you had this great moment. You don't have to freak out like that.
What did I say?
Don't freak out like that.
When Alyssa and I get in the room, sometimes it is long, and she's like, "We can do this in 20 minutes." I'm like, "No, we can't."
You said that exact same thing on this past episode too.
Never.
But what I liked hearing about for you and for Hygge was that you had this unexpected peak during the holidays when you would typically anticipate just dead presence here, but you talked about how you guys had this spike, and I thought I was the only one who was like emailing Alyssa right before Christmas, like, hey, what are y'all doing this year, this next year?
Yeah.
But you had this great spike, so talk about that a little bit.
I think that every trend, everything we ever, anything that we've known is now thrown out the door.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the pandemic reset the way we operate. So until, unless the world goes back to what it was in 2020, February, we will never operate the same. People, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So now we have to prepare. Like we're having a crazy February. Like January and February are always pretty busy, but it's been incredibly busy the last 2 days, like unexpectedly. We're setting records daily in just interaction. December, it's all just every moment that I think that I've got it nailed down and I understand exactly how people are going to interact with what we're doing. Something happens and it floors me. We have a crazy month, a slow month. There's no leads. There's tons of leads. Somebody leaves who's been a long-time member and I just wasn't expecting it. We get a group that wants to come in and bring 15 Flex members to the table. I think that in the best way possible, it has prepared us for and left us open to a lot of cool opportunity. We don't need a ton of structure. We're not for the most part, as long as we hit a base and don't fail miserably like a pandemic, like we don't see that incredible drop. For the most part, we can take crazy fluctuation in stride. We don't, as long as the base is there, the foundation of money coming in, which bills on the first of the month, we have a lot of freedom to handle things as they come and go, however we want. It's kind of a really exciting part of the business, and I think that more people should look at recurring business models versus like the product sales. If you sell a widget and you don't sell widgets today, you make no money.
Right.
I make all our money on the first. The rest of the month, I don't do much billing. Occasionally someone books a studio for $20 an hour, but like all of our money comes in on the first and we don't have to stress about money on the second, third, fourth, all the way till the next first. And barring like mass exodus, like a pandemic, like we're going to be fine. We know what's money's coming in on a regular basis. And that is really, really cool. It also makes the spikes even more exciting because all of those spikes are compounded. They're recurring revenue. So when we add, let's say we add a $5,000 bump in membership revenue, that's $5,000 every month times 12. That's $60,000 in new recurring revenue yearly. Again, all we got to do is hopefully retain people, and that's the stuff we're working really hard right now to do. Is it's what the new hire's job is, and part of this is between Chloe, Alyssa, and I, and the new person and Ben is just like, how do we retain this because it's so valuable?
Yeah.
And we don't want to take for granted that we are being paid. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Kind of answer.
Yeah. I mean, and you comes with a lot of, I'm sure, moments where I feel like if I was in your shoes, which I can barely conceptualize on my part anyway, but I feel like that kind of day-to-day anticipation, you'd have to just kind of, before you step out of the house, just be like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Which is a great reason makes it great that you're connected to this cafe next door.
Yeah.
I would need that every morning with a little bit of whiskey.
Well, I'm sober, so it doesn't work for me.
Okay,
but,
sorry.
No, I apologize. But coffee all day.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't dread this job. I've only had, I think it was May of 2020 where I really hit a low point where I thought maybe this is not the work I want to do. Like I was low. Sure. In 6 years, it's the one day where I was just like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I don't feel like that anymore. And it was a very, very, very momentary lapse for me. I genuinely love coming in, walking the spaces, keeping them clean, interacting with members. 6 years into this still brings me a ton of joy. Most of the issues that we have are self-created. You know, we want things to be bigger, more robust, and with that comes, as a small team, inevitable complication.
Yeah.
We're creating new systems. You know, if we hired 10 people, sure, there'd be people everywhere. There'd never be out of toilet paper. Some be on the paper towel rolls every, moment of every day. The studio would be vacuumed 3 times a day. All of these things. And I like saving money where we can and doing, stretching our bandwidth. I also think that things like cleaning, and I'm looking at that podcast window and door, and it's just giving me anxiety.
Yeah.
God, it needs to be wiped down. But like doing that myself is
I feel like someone pressed their head against the window or
yeah,
something.
Looks like it. It's really disgusting, actually. I'm gonna clean that when we're done. But doing those things is really attaches you to the business.
Yeah.
Someone smarter than me and more successful than me would tell me that I'm doing it wrong and that I should hire people, and just, if I'm the CEO and the owner, I should not be doing these things. But I think a big part of Hygge's success is that I am as attached to the day-to-day. I think people appreciate it.
I feel like, though, if you were to go at it that way, I mean, regardless of how experienced that person suggesting that would be, I feel like when you do it like that, you as the owner become kind of this unseen, unknown entity that people are kind of wary of.
Yeah, I never. So I think that from a business standpoint is the reason we don't get yelled at all the time. We don't have people ghosting us on payments and things like that because we're not invisible. Mm-hmm. If we never came in, if we were an email address,
right?
People would complain all the time.
Oh, sure.
They'd fire off emails all day. They would hate us, and it would show because we were invisible to them. But the fact that someone across the hall from us here could be mad about something, fire an email, like, she's going to see me probably 6 times today.
So maybe take a moment to breathe it out.
Yeah, breathe. And
breathe
also
it out.
just grab me and talk to me about it.
Yeah.
And we've always come off and worked really hard to be approachable. So I think that it works really well.
Yeah.
And I believe in it. It's not just, it's a tactic, but it's how I believe business should be operated. Very approachable, very available, and very transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it works.
Very seen, and I think the best part about it is that you're not in a suit. You're just this dude in an outfit, in a hoodie, zip up coat.
Yeah.
But the best part's the beanie.
Yeah, I feel particularly underdressed today. Like I'm a t-shirt and jeans guy, but during the winter and I put the beanie on, it makes me feel like a hobo a little bit.
Well, you look like half of the students at the App State WSAU radio station, so you fit.
Yeah, most people, if you did not know, and I was like, I am the owner, they'd be like, oh, weird.
Well, saying that, though, makes me realize when you had just opened this location, God, was it 2 years ago now?
A little over 2 years.
And I think you mentioned I was the first one to try out the studio.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time I ever saw you, because I'm not sure I got a chance to meet you off of the Freedom Drive location.
Probably not.
So I was like, oh,
it's me.
It's just a dude.
Just a dude.
Just a dude.
Yeah, I really wish more people would not. God, we could rant all day about this. Just this
This show is called Casual Babbles, so
yeah,
I mean,
cool.
It's welcome.
Yeah.
If we don't babble, I did something wrong.
I think that every once in a while, you get this oh my God, who got this? And you're the owner, and it's just I'm just a guy who's really good at executing on things that he's excited about, and tends to make pretty good educated guesses, and that's resulted in some success. And you know what? If that makes you somehow want to put me on a pedestal, I'm okay, but I prefer to just be friends with you. And that's just where I stand on it all. I don't want to be idolized. I don't mind being looked up to, but I'm not in the way that's like fanatic. I want to be, I want normal people to realize that they can build and do cool things. Like I'm pretty normal. You know, I have an intricate, weird life, but it's, we all do, you know, in some way, shape, or form. The things that create and define us we all got a story. So, yeah, I'm just a dude, and I prefer people to see us like that. I do like putting on a suit, but I won't do it here.
You like putting on a suit?
I really like getting dressed up.
I just came in here and complained about how I finally got out of my dress pants and a polo. I don't understand people who do that.
Yeah, well, that's not my, like, I'm talking like, you know, I just went to a wedding, got a custom suit.
Oh, well, okay.
Like the thing fits. It's like it's a glove. It's perfect. Yeah, it's nice to get dressed up every once in a while, but every day, like, no, I'm determined to always be the only guy with a hat in the room, and very often that's the case. Yeah, that's the plan.
Mm-hmm. That happens a lot.
Yeah, we actually so we're referencing there's windows and a door into the hallway here at Hygge, and you know, people walk by, and I'm surprised I just got distracted by that. Maybe he wasn't wearing a mask. But we did actually originally envision this with shades. We put them up so you could pull it across, but it made the room really claustrophobic. It did not it didn't feel good. And didn't, you know, in the end of the day, that the mood, the vibe for me, even though you could pull them across, was just not how I enjoyed it. And I'd rather expose people and teach people to be more focused on their guests and not worry about what's happening out there.
Right.
But there are some people that, like, everyone that walks by, they're just like eye popping over and they can't focus. Yeah. Anyway, random.
Very random. So another random question: how are y'all on figuring out who's stealing all the silverware?
We figured out who it is.
Oh, you did?
I buried their body yesterday.
Oh no!
No, it's honestly, I found 2 spoons at my house.
Don't be the culprit.
It's everyone is. It's a like a forever thing. It's going to happen until I just remove all dishes from Hygge, and I'm not far from it. I'm not far from it.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. It's the last time I spent $100 on silverware. That's it. And then we'll bring mugs. That's all we got. It's mugs. You need to eat. Use your fingers. Got perfectly good hand forks here. Nick Miller. And then, yeah, from there
and some of us are masters at getting the leftovers out from under the fingernail.
That's it. Yeah, I'm not fucking around anymore. I'm so tired of it. It's so depressing. Like, I opened a drawer at Hill Street. I just put stuff in there. I'm like, there's no spoons in here. Where did they go?
Right.
10 spoons.
Mm-hmm. Out of the list of problems you've had, that's just not one that needs to be on the list.
That's the thing. Like, I'll take any other problem except these really dumb ones.
Yeah.
That, honestly, I can solve by just eliminating this thing. And, you know, people will be mad, and then they'll get used to it and bring their own things that they put in their mouths. Like, I don't want to do it. But I'm like, close. I'm close.
You're close.
Yeah. I say that every year. And then I talk with the team, and they're like, we can't do it. People get mad. I'm like, that's the thing. This is the silverware is going to be
I'm not sure that's the only reason that, like, well, I mean, no, sorry, let me rephrase that. I don't think that should be the only reason why you don't do it.
Oh, you know, like, I don't, there's very little that I don't really concern myself with like pissing off the members, because for the most part, we're very transparent. We're going to tell people exactly why a thing's going to happen. And for the most part, I tend to get through a breaking point on anything that I think is going to be drastically change how a member interacts with our space. And at that point, they go like, oh, we get it.
Yeah.
You know, like, if I send a mass message to everyone and go like, hey, listen, the silverware's gone because y'all keep stealing it anyway.
Oh, well.
You know, like, it's gone. It's
gone.
Yeah. Y'all can't put it back. You're not. And you know, somebody's going to be like, oh, and you know who it is? The person that takes it. It's their fault.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
Can't do it. Shouldn't do it. Should be a thing.
Push me over the edge. Anyway. Woof.
So I do want to ask about one thing that I actually came across as a result of doing my actual job, which is, so I work communications for a couple of big commercial real estate boards. And this past November, I found a little article in the Charlotte Business Journal. His eyes getting wide. He's getting wide-eyed again. But it did reference, that article referenced an article from 2020 regarding, I think it was Hill Street.
Which, yes,
a potential expansion you had to step back from.
Yeah.
So I hate when I lead up to something and then the train just derails. But if you wouldn't mind talking about, did the revelation of you have to step back from that kind of expansion, which they only had one picture of it, and the inside looked great. Cool. From the one picture that I saw, which looked like maybe a foyer, like a back-facing staircase, something like that.
It's a beautiful space.
So, yeah, the revelation, was that quick, or was it something you felt might end up happening considering the year?
No, so we had signed that space March 1, 2020.
Of 2020, okay.
With, everything shutting down 16 days later. So, yeah, and because the pandemic was a very, it's not going to last that long. Like, the initial days,
right.
Months, we were, everyone was like, oh, it'll just be another month. And it took about 6 months and, $150,000 of sunk rent to realize, that we needed to let it go.
Yeah.
I held on to it longer than I should have. That's, they're not mistakes, It's not, it's not a failure. It's not a mistake. It's just, I was making decisions based on the information I had at that time. Typically my educated guesses or decisions or all these things are pretty sound.
Yeah.
This one wasn't. I look back and at the end of the day, I was basing everything off what science and people and people I respect were saying, and I thought we were going to come out of that quicker and would have had the opportunity to go after filling that space. I am so glad we were able to get rid of it at the time we did. Otherwise, I'd still probably be in the hole. I would have never made the money on it. It would have just been a really, really heavy weight tied to our legs. No thanks. So yeah, I beat myself up about it for quite some time.
Yeah.
Because it was just, at the end of the day, like, I'm the only person making decisions. And this one it's $150,000 mistake. Well,
yeah.
It's mine, I don't know. I struggle to call it a mistake. Like, it just,
I think you mentioned that you call them educational.
Yeah. It's like anything else. Like, I tried to buy a building, had to hire lawyers, $10,000 in lawyer fees, backed out of buying a building. I learned so much through that process. The $10,000, stint in school, that's how I look at it. So, it could be worse.
So are you currently trying to find a new home for the plans you had for that building, or?
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, I'm more interested in kind of expanding into little sub brands right now.
Kind of like Loke.
Like Fit, Little Hygge, was a pandemic, a casualty of the pandemic with still plans to bring it back. Yeah, I say this every, maybe one day, in the near future, I'll look at a building that feels exactly like what we need and we'll go after it. But I'm not actively hunting. There's still a lot for us to do here. But before we add more space to the, there's still days where nobody's in. We still have 100 members missing from pre-pandemic. There's a lot of room to grow still.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
There we go again. Damn train of thought. There we go. Okay, so we're back. You talked about how, so with Loke, which on paper looks like it's spelled locale. It is spelled locale, but it's pronounced locale. Sure. I'm trying to act like an informed member here, and you're.
I would say it looks like it's spelled local. Like that's the
local.
Because it's all local businesses. That's the play. Just like Hygge, challenging to say. But yeah, okay.
That was a nice little rhyme there. I like that. But so are you over your no activity in January thing? Because so you and Alyssa talked about how there was like nothing going on for them in January.
Yeah, January was quiet,
and you were kind of freaking out about it.
Yeah, it's
but they were like, it's okay.
Yeah, and the vendors are still, for the most part, retail is pretty down. Camp North End's been quiet. I'm not too worried, as long as the vendors feel good, I feel good. That's just kind of how it's there to serve them, and if they're okay, then I'm okay.
Well, so we have a event coming up next week. A nice little podcaster. I don't want to say little. Nice podcaster networking moment.
Yeah.
For J Street. Will that be the first of several kinds of networking you want to do at different locations?
So we're not even we're just hosting this thing. So we have a member that's always been a big podcast user. Always wanted to do this, and we finally just told him he could do it. But he's done all the work.
Okay.
We're just the space. Is there more plans to do more gathering of the members? Absolutely, 100%. In all sorts of cool ways. It's the core of the business. The thing that unites us is we all got work to do. But when you look at why we all step out of the house, it is for really a desire to not be alone. So I'm hoping that some of the programming here coming up will fill that gap, make people feel good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the podcast thing.
Mm-hmm.
But podcasting is such a weird thing. The amount of people that start up in here and then stop is unreal.
Mm-hmm.
People that take the training to learn the equipment and then just never record. It's mind-blowing.
Is there a ratio you'd say if you were to guesstimate?
I just went through the system and cut out people that haven't recorded in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't been in here in 6 months.
At that point, I was probably one of them at some point.
Well over 100 people I removed from the system. It's wild.
Just as
like
members completely, or just as far as like associated as a podcaster?
Studio people.
Oh, okay. Damn.
Like 100 unique people, either trained, never recorded, or recorded and then stopped recording.
So what about somebody who trained, immediately began recording, but didn't show up again for like 7 months?
Happens all the time.
Okay.
Or never records again. Records one or two, realized it's a ton of work, and maybe nobody listened to their first show, and that was demoralizing, so they dropped out.
Man, if I dropped that every single time someone didn't listen to an episode.
I know. It's honestly a part of I think all the time about how to teach people that you can starting a podcast is like starting a business. Like you're selling a thing in a very crowded market.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing something unique, everyone's like, why don't you have your own podcast, Garrett? I'm like, because there's plenty of white business owners talking into a microphone. I just don't have a unique spin. I don't have something interesting to talk about, so I'm just not going to go there yet. I'd rather empower Ben and Alyssa to do just a sip and have 1 minute episode things and then here, like, God, I was so proud this morning when I listened to the second one they did. I'm like, damn, this is like kind of cool and good.
No, wait, so just a sip, where is that at?
Just a sip. It's on podcast. Apple Podcast, Spotify. It's a 1 minute podcast.
Okay.
Daily affirmations, inspiration, and meditations.
And I let them listen to this, but I did try looking up 0 to 10 a little while ago on Spotify. It wasn't showing up.
It's not on Spotify.
Oh, it's not on Spotify.
It needs to be on Spotify.
You guys use Anchor?
Libsyn.
Okay.
I just got to hit the button.
Gotcha.
There's always something.
I haven't messed with them before.
Yeah.
Anchor's evolving, so I'm going to stick with them for a while.
I was using Anchor. Alyssa and I were using Anchor for That's Novel Book. It's the podcast we were doing
Okay,
together.
yeah.
And it's just, it wasn't there for me. Libsyn is the gold standard.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. You have to check them out.
Libsyn, like some of the biggest podcasts in the world use it. It's,
Okay.
like they got their shit together and they got good funding and they're making updates all the time. LIBSISYN. But yeah, not enough podcasters really understand what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to talk into the mic.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't deserve that.
Fair.
They don't.
Especially if you're on TikTok, you know exactly. Plenty of names come to mind who fit that category.
Yeah.
Of who should not be on the mic.
Like I just, and that's maybe too critical. And some be like, well, that's not kind. Everyone deserves the mic. And I'm like, well, not everyone deserves an audience.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Maybe a better spin for
like
it.
anybody can, like, it's here. Come scream into the microphone. But like what separates you?
Mm-hmm.
And I just, or make sure you have a realistic expectation of why you're doing this. You know, the Hygge podcast has a very low bar for success.
Yeah.
It does exactly what it needs to. Just a sip, again, like another form of co-marketing for this thing while also creating, honestly, one of the cooler products that we've done. It's fun. It's different. So, yeah.
Do you have any personal goals that you want to see come out of this particular part of Hygge when it comes to podcasters?
Yeah. I think about getting rid of the studio.
Oh, really?
Every day.
Oh,
Y'all are the worst. Podcasters are the worst.
What?
Not you, but
Thank you. I needed that validation. I don't get enough.
I shouldn't say. There's just, honestly, like I look at the floor in here, there's candy wrappers. Like people don't pay enough to be in here and they treat it with really a lack of respect. It's frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I could charge $1,500 for this office. It would sell tomorrow and I don't even have to think about it. I know. We're not there yet. And I'm not.
A nice space though. I just don't have that much on me at the moment.
Yeah.
If I did,
I want people to, they don't, you know, I'm generalizing. We have a lot of great podcasts. They're some of the coolest people that walk through these doors.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are a podcaster and you hear this, you know the ones who we adore.
Yeah.
You're great. You give us a lot of love. We give you a lot of love and you just show up and do your thing. And
Yeah.
it's great. But over the years, it's definitely been challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been challenging. And I think that the pandemic broke a lot of people, you know, like they'll never come back to podcasting.
Yeah.
They were already not doing well with it. Then they lost their ability to record. They tried to do it from home. They weren't prepared to do it.
Yeah.
There's just a lot. And also the, the podcasting world, when everyone had time to sit around at home, also exploded.
Right.
So now you're having even more crowded because everyone just sat around creating content. It's crowded. It's a crowded place to be.
But they all kind of look the same too. I mean, if they all go to like YouTube, they all look the same.
Sure.
It's always like the lights all in the corners, which creates a nice ambiance. But it's like if so many of them weren't chewing and eating ASMR videos, I feel better about it.
Listen, that's on the list. It's on the list. I would be lying if in the last team meeting we didn't talk about Hygge ASMR.
Just not like chewing ASMR, right?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe just sipping coffee.
I don't know if I go for that one first.
Listen.
I'd say people like the plucking. Are a big fan of the plucking.
Plucking?
Plucking. Like I think it's usually like titled like Reiki energy something ASMR videos. But like plucking away the bad energy.
Are they actually making like plucking noises?
No, they just they aim the camera so it's like one of those triggers for like personal attention that triggers it. But people like that, I think you hear more flack about the chewing and the saliva smacking ASMRs than you do any other form of ASMR. So just suggesting, not that you have to put any weight to my words, but
yeah. Well, I'm sure. Listen, I was eating pie every Sunday on Instagram, and people were really into it. It's a thing.
What kind of pie?
I made different pie every week for over a year, and then ate it on Instagram.
Like one unique pie per 365 days.
Every Sunday I would bake
Not 3,
1, 2, or 3 baked goods and then eat them at 8 o'clock at night on Instagram.
On Instagram.
And people would like it.
All right. Maybe I'll try to.
It's a weird thing.
I'll try the chewing ASMR one more time.
Yeah.
I make no promises.
My educated gut here says failure.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not, but, because somebody else is already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know. Maybe we'll do, like, I could see us doing, like, a weird ASMR joke, and it's just, like, people sitting in chairs or something. It's just the sound of, like, somebody's butt just rubbing around in that yellow leather chair over there or something.
And trying to convince the other person that they're not farting. It's the chair.
Yeah, maybe.
I will say these chairs, when I first got in here, scared the hell out of me.
These ones?
Yes. Granted, I'm huge.
Well,
and I was like, I get the metal reinforces the plastic. But I was like, first of all, when this breaks, I know the sharp part's going to be between my legs.
So I think what's going to happen, and it honestly, it doesn't matter how big you are. I have been sitting in one of these, and all of a sudden, it's really slow, where it just starts to, like, you'll know it. You'll be like, oh, I'm getting lower. Like this part. So this front part of the chair.
Uh-huh.
How do I explain this? It's just going to slowly start bending, and you're going to start tipping backwards. It's a weird, like gravity disappeared for a moment.
Right.
You're like, oh, I'm definitely falling in slow motion.
Uh-huh.
And then you'll just be laying on the ground. It won't snap.
And I feel like generally, unless you're in like gymnastics or like Cirque du Soleil, you don't have that much trust in your own balance. So you're probably just going to pop up real quick.
No, you won't even, I'm not kidding. It's going to take, you'll be too late before you realize what's happening.
It's the best kind of death.
Because it's happening slow. So all of a sudden you're going to be like, I'm definitely further from this mic.
Right.
Now I'm sliding back and, oh my God, my back's on the ground. And it'll just be.
See, I don't think the universe would afford me that kindness. I think it'd be very abrupt. It didn't afford me the kindness when my dude. So one of my pain points so far this year is that every attempt to be consistent in here, which if Alyssa, I'm sure I've annoyed her over the holidays, but if she told you, like I emailed her telling her I'm going to be super consistent in 2022. This will be the year. I thought that in 2020, when I had to bother you on New Year's Eve, because I did not pay attention to the emails and did not know how to get into the building.
Yeah.
Because you guys had upgraded. But I was like, I'm going to be super consistent, super on point every week. Every attempt, I was met with some kind of universal fuck you. BC Babbles.
Nice.
Like the day after I upgraded to Flex was the day my Bravada's trans took a shit. So I could not come in.
It's always something.
The next week was when I tried my first recording with a friend, but then when I went to look at that, I see those pictures like, oh, dude, something's wrong with the Roadcaster. I got white noise all through this hour-long session. I can't use this audio. And the GoPro looks nice, but the audio is shit on it. So it's like I can't use that for an hour-long podcast.
Worst.
And then last week, recorded with the same person who had to run through Charlotte to get here. And she was like, I'm going to be really upset if we can't record today, Brandon. I was like, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Looks nice. And then 2 days later, go into post-production. And instead of thankfully, instead of white noise every 10 seconds, it was just a drop. It was just out.
Weird.
Silence. So far, today is the nice day. The nice day.
So far, so good.
I
need a favor. Okay.
Okay.
So Alyssa, who works with me, she's the marketing person. I'm on a never-ending goal to mess with her. So I'm going to tell you in this moment that you did bother her over the holidays too much.
Okay. So I'll cut
she
that
didn't.
out.
No.
Okay.
We're going to mess with her. Tonight, you're going to send an email and be like, and say, just send it to her. You're going to be like, listen, I just want to apologize for how much I bothered you. Garrett had mentioned. That's it. Very brief.
Okay.
I just need you to do this for me. She had never said anything about you, but I just need to mess with her one more time today. And you need to play a part in this.
Okay, now that begs the question, how have you been messing with her before now?
Well, I told her that you were Oh my God.
What you been doing, Garrett?
No, I told her that you were interviewing to replace her as the 0 to 10 host.
Oh my God. First of all,
because you waved in the photo, I'm like, that's him waving goodbye to you.
Oh my God. First of all,
you should say, and just like, P.S. I'm so excited to join the team. Just put that at the bottom. Come on. I'll write the email for you. Just press send.
No, I'll do it. I was going to say before you mentioned that line, I was going to be like, oh, you know what? I could probably add something like, just to let things calm down, I'm going to avoid the J Street location for a couple weeks. I'll do my podcast from home.
Oh my God.
I do have a setup from home, so I could do it, but I like being here.
All you need to say is, hey, I spoke with Garrett, and I am really sorry with how much I bothered you over the holidays with the podcast studio, but thanks for your patience. P.S. Really excited to work with you on the podcasts moving forward. Something like that. Oh my God. That's it.
I'll do it.
The more brief, the better. I love that we just ideated this live.
Well, this is a lot next week, so
cool.
Hopefully everything will be taken care of before then.
Yeah. It's your mission. You have one mission tonight.
One mission tonight.
Yeah. Eat dinner. Send email.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe watch a show.